to life.
He still takes the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You are fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name's Mark. I appreciate everyone tuning in on this wonderful late June Sunday evening as we stay out west for Sonoma road course racing. Take 2 of road course racing, or turning right and left. It's our last opportunity of the year for SVG to get one more win and try to get himself back into the top 16 and potentially make the chase. If you are new here, what's up, Daniel? Welcome. Hopefully you and the family are doing well. Are we having to put the little kiddo to sleep again tonight, or is he already asleep? But either way, appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button if you're new here. Also, down in the description is the Discord channel, and just recently updated racinginthedraft.com, which has got our Draftkings calculator and Draftkings optimizer built into it. Currently, that is free to use. Oh, that's not good. Hopefully everyone is okay. Since you're typing, that means you're okay. Hopefully everyone else is okay, including anyone else that was involved. That's always scary. So hopefully everyone's doing well there. But either way, last week we saw a scary accident last week too. At San Diego Coronado, the home of Top Gun. Winner, Corey Heim. Man, he should have had a full-time ride this year. He's so good. He is going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with, to say the least, for many years to come. He is even better at ovals than he is at road coursing. And he showed how good he was at road course racing last week. Not even a full-time ride, and he takes it to Tyler Reddick, who is one of the top 3-4 road course racers in NASCAR right now. And Corey Heim just absolutely took it to Naval Base Coronado. So congratulations to Corey Heim. That was actually a really, really cool race. I really hope they go back there next year. I understand that it's very unique, and it's a little tough to make that happen, being on a active military base. But I think it was really cool to showcase the Navy, our military, giving a chance for all of our military to be there and watch. I think we probably gained quite a few fans. The stands were packed and crowded. And I tell you what, we saw a heck of a battle and a heck of a duel, to say the least. Well, I'm glad you're okay. And let me take a look. Oh no! Oh, that is scary. So, hopefully she looks like she's going to be okay, and glad it wasn't any worse than it was. So, yeah, my thoughts and prayers with you guys as you continue to heal from that, and we'll leave that there. And appreciate you sharing, and we'll definitely keep you in my thoughts. All right, but Corey Heim gets the win. behind Bubba Wallace, who, man, you want to talk about an up and down day. I thought he was down and out. I thought there was no way. A couple of different reasons. Bubba Wallace is not known as a road course racer to begin with, and self-claimed that he pretty much is not really that great at road course racing. Well, he came to the field in stage 1 and got up to, I think, second or third in stage 1, and then gets a penalty because a wheel came off his car, goes 2 laps down, and because of the way the cautions work, he was the only car a lap down, got both of those laps back, and then charged through the field to finish second. I'm not sure. I think they would have needed quite a few laps because Corey Haim ended up winning by, 6 to 8 seconds. But if there had been a late caution or something like that, and I think Bubba Wallace straight up was probably faster at the end of that run than Corey Haim was, because I think Corey Haim had to use up his stuff to get around Tyler Reddick. But I tell you what, good run for Bubba Wallace, and maybe that's something we need to kind of start paying attention to. But these Toyotas continue to just dominate the Cup Series. We've got a couple Chevys in the field this weekend. I mean, one being SVG that, definitely is the odds-on favorite to get this win. He won in pretty good fashion this afternoon in the O'Reilly series. And hopefully, if anybody was running that race today, that I ended up winning. I don't know. I think I almost half-x'd what I made, 1.5x. So I had 240 in and finished up with 380 up. So yeah, so 140 profit. So I'll take that. If I can duplicate that again tomorrow, that would be great. So Cash Money Rez, thanks for all the content. Oh, you're more than welcome. I appreciate you tuning in. I don't recognize the name, so I gather you're fairly new here or new to at least posting out there. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to throw it in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. You just kind of never know with NASCAR DFS what this may end up turning out to be or not be. And I should have muted my other computer, but oh well. Let's look at the optimal lineups. Chris Buescher from 16th to 6th. Look at that. Nobody that started in the top 10 made the optimal lineup. Chris Buescher, 16th to 6th. Kyle Larson, 14th to 3rd. Ross Chastain, 23rd to 7th. Corey Haim, 13th to 1st. Bubba Wallace, starting 12th, finished 2nd. And Riley Herbst, 24th to 8th. And I actually got the laps led fixed. So Kyle Larson was actually the lap leader out of this group with 11. And, as we look through the rest of this, no dominators as expected, because there's not enough dominator points to really matter. 4 place differentials, 3 value drivers, 3 top 5 finishers, $5,000 left over. I completely missed that, but $5,000 left over in salary cap. So, yeah, I mean, when you take out a couple of the most expensive drivers in the field, that will absolutely do that. I mean, if you look at this, there's $9,200 is the most expensive driver, even with the 8 drivers who did not make the optimal lineup. And actually, the only one who was just outside the optimal lineup was Zane Smith, that started 4th and finished 4th, and he only had 40.75 points. The high-end point getter was Corey Haim at 59.55 points. So what an incredible run for him once again. And our optimal lineup challenge still has Denny Hamlin at top at 8, Ty Gibbs at 7, Tyler Reddick at 6, Bubba Wallace at 6, Bad Brad Keselowski at 5, Ryan Blaney at 5. And then you can see the rest: Shane, Chase, Stenhouse, Larson, Chastain, and Riley Herbst. But either way, we're staying out west, just heading north of San Diego up to the San Francisco area for the Sonoma race up in wine country. John Ray says Elliott wins. Maybe. I mean, he is really good at road course racing. His practice laps are a little to be desired, but I mean, sure. I mean, I didn't see Corey Heim winning last week. I think Chase Elliott could have a top 10 run. I'm not sure he's going to get a win though. But we'll break it down. We'll look at his practice laps and see how well he does here at Sonoma in the past. Lost Profit says best NASCAR DFS show out there. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone tuning in. I would probably still do this without any viewers because I enjoyed doing it. It's taught me a lot about being disciplined when building my lineups, really looking at the nuances of DFS builds. It's gotten me probably even more in touch with NASCAR than I already was, and I've been a fan of the sport for 30 plus years. Been to, I don't know, 100, 120, 130 NASCAR races. But yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning in. It makes it enjoyable to have people join in and conversate. Like I said, make sure you join the Discord. We do have some conversations over there, but I post a lot of the stats and things that are happening also on the website, racinginthedraft.com. Other tracks to compare to also our stages are 25 laps, 30 laps, and then 55 laps. So pretty much the first stage would be 25. The second stage with the caution laps would probably end up being about 25 also. And then the final stage would be about a 50 lap run. So we're looking at, they'll split, some drivers will split the stage in stage one. Some drivers will split, not split, but they'll flip the stage. So they'll come in at lap 22, 23 and take tires. And then when everybody else pits, they will end up moving to the front for the restart of stage 2. And then they'll do the same thing again. They'll come in, they may even come in a little bit earlier and then try to work out a different strategy for stage 3. I'm unsure about the fuel mileage, but they should be able to make it on only one stop in stage 3. I don't think they can go the entire 55 laps on one tank of fuel. So they would have to come in for either a green flag stop, or if there's a caution at some point in that 55 lap run. As we have seen, NASCAR is not prone to throw a caution very quickly on these road courses because it just eats up so much time and it eats up laps. And when we've only got 110 laps, it's they're precious, they're valuable, and it a qualifying lap here was what, a minute 20, give or take. So they're trying to, when they slow them down to caution speeds, it takes them 5-6 minutes per lap. Well, if a caution's going to last 4 laps, you're looking at potentially 15 minutes of just guys cruising around the track. And that's no fun for anybody to watch. It's no fun for the TV crews to broadcast that on. So they try to avoid throwing the cautions unless they absolutely have to. Cash Money says, you're new to DFS. Can you possibly give a brief explanation of how to play? Sure. So Daily Fantasy Sports, which is through Draftkings or FanDuel, really kind of break it down. You're not necessarily always looking for who's going to be, the guy who wins the race, or the guy that finished second, or the guy that finishes third. And when I first started DFS, that was kind of my mindset was, Shane Van Gisbergen won the race. Why wasn't he the highest point getter? Well, it's all based on place differential. It's based on finishing position, are kind of the two biggest denominators. And then, of course, they have fast laps. So every lap, whoever is the fastest for that one particular lap. So we have 110 laps, excluding the caution laps. Whoever the fastest driver is, at full speed gets 0.45 points. So if, let's say, SVG was the fastest for every lap, other than the caution laps, he's looking at potentially 45 points because there's probably about 10 laps of caution. So there'd be 100 laps. If he got them all, that'd be 45 points. Well, he's not going to get them all because strategies will play into when people pit, and fresh tires are faster than old tires. And then the way the points work for a lap led is it's 0.25 points per lap led. So SVG goes out and leads all 110 laps or 100 laps, he would earn 25 points. But he's not going to do that because he's going to, what they say, call flip stages. And what that means is they'll come in at lap 22, 23 of stage 1, they'll pit, get fresh tires. That if whoever's in the lead, if they do that, whoever is second, third, fourth, or fifth that decides not to come in would move up to first while that person's pitting. But then when the next driver, when the caution does come out, the driver that's out front who has not pitted yet will pit. Well, while they're pitting, whoever pitted early will go by them and start in front of them for this when the caution flag ends and they go back to green flag racing. So that's called flipping the stage, or flipping a caution. If you happen to know when the cautions are coming, the only two spots that we know the cautions are coming is at the end of stage 1 and the end of stage 2. On that, it's a wheel comes off, somebody wrecks, somebody blows an engine or puts fluid on the track, or maybe there's rain and they end up having what they call a red flag. So Andrew, what's up, buddy? Good to see you again tonight. Depends on the contest. You're playing cash game, best bets, and tournaments are contrarian plays. Yes. So you also have 2 different sides of DFS to play. And Andrew is correct. So small field tournaments, which typically are, 100, 200 people that are playing in a tournament, compared to some of these really big cash prizes that you see out there, for the $20 entry fee, but you're playing against, I don't even know how many people are in the big $20 tournament. Let's pull it up. The $250,000 burnout, which is $20 to enter. There's 14,000 people playing in that one tournament. So if you're going up against, well, not 14,000 people, there's 14,000 entries, and you can do a max of, I think, 150 entries in that contest. So it's completely different. And what you're doing for those types of tournaments is you're looking to be contrarian. And what that means by contrarian is you're trying to find a sleeper pick. You're trying to find somebody that most of the field is not playing. So for like this week, my sleeper pick will probably end up being like a Cole Custer. Number one, he's inexpensive, so it allows me to play a very expensive SVG. He's decently fast at road courses. He's been showing good speed lately, but I think his ownership is going to be single-digit percentage ownership across the field. So out of those 14,000 lineups that are out there, he's only going to be in potentially 5-6% of them. Now, that's also a guess because you don't really know for sure, but I've been doing this long enough, and I just know that, Cole Custer's probably not going to have a ton of ownership. He'll have some, whereas a cash lineup, which is either what they call the double ups or the 50-50s, which means you have to only beat half of the field, and typically there's 10, 20, 40 entries in the field. And all you're trying to do is beat half of them, and you double your money. So if you put $10 in, minus a little bit of Draftkings fee, you'll end up netting like $19. So you win $9. Is essentially what that ends up being. So it's almost like a bet. And you just want to bet to pick the best lineup. Well, a cash lineup, you're not looking for the contrarian play because you're looking at only beating half of the field. instead of beating the entire field. So those are the difference between cash lineups and tournament lineups. It's a little easier to play a cash lineup because you don't have to be contrarian. You don't have to find the needle in the haystack. You don't have to find the Cole Custer or the Zane Smith or the Todd Gilliland or a Riley Herbst or one of those guys that's going to be low owned but end up doing really well, potentially making what they call the optimal lineup. And that goes back to what I was saying here is the optimal lineup is the optimal amount of points compared to all the people in the field. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, cool. I'm glad you kind of understood that. So there's lots of different ways to play, and then there is a difference between the DraftKings model and the FanDuel model. FanDuel does their points a little bit different. I mostly only play DraftKings. I'm familiar with FanDuel, but not enough to explain it properly or even tell you that I really fully understand it. But the DraftKings model, I fully understand. I've been playing it for, 7-8 years ever since it kind of came out. It's been longer than that. I've had this channel for 4 or 5 years. So yeah, it might be 10 years now that DraftKings has had NASCAR DFS. So hopefully that explains it. And as we go through this, most of these lineup builds that I'm talking about are typically large field tournament plays. You can equate that also to cash tournaments, and the fact of, when I go through and talk about a particular driver, it's, an SVG who's extremely good at road courses, should lead a bunch of laps, should probably finish first. He's probably also going to be 40, 45, 50% owned. That's a cash play, or it's kind of a loss leader. It's like, okay, I'm going to be with everyone on this with an SVG play. And if SVG does well, I'm with 50% of the people. Well, if SVG does bad, like he did last week, I'm with 50% of the people. So the other thing about doing a large field tournament is not typically doing one entry. And because that's the risky part, is if you play one entry and you've got SVG as your top guy, well, last week you were donezo after that big wreck. And then you're like, okay, what am I watching now? Other than I'm watching the sport for the sport, and I want to see who wins, which ended up being a really good race at the end of it all. Andrew says, think of it like going against 20,000 lineups with the chalk, which the chalk is the highest percentage owned drivers, and going against a few thousand if you low owned play hits. Yeah, so, like I said, last week, I think SVG, what was SVG on ownership? I think he was like 45 to 50%. I have the stat here. 1 second while I look it up. Percentage used. SVG was 61.34%. I pull this over real quick. I keep track of this at every race. So SVG was 61.34%. I ended up having 55% ownership of SVG. So I was what they called slightly less than the field. Wasn't a full-on fade by any means. It wasn't really a fade at all. It's just what I ended up with. Chase Elliott had 33.7%. My next highest was Christopher Bell at 37%. Then William Byron at 27%. So what I'm doing is I'm spreading out my picks, even though I'm still really heavy at SVG at 55%. So when he wrecked, 55% of my lineups were toast. They were gone. And they weren't worth anything at that point. Whereas, let's see, Corey Heim was ownership-wise was 12.6%. So last week, a great pick would have been a Riley Herbst, who made the optimal lineup, was $5,700, but he was 6.72% owned. I ended up having 13% of Riley Herbst, and if I had happened to have a lineup with a Riley Herbst, a Corey Heim, a Kyle Larson, a Ross Chastain, which probably was not realistically going to be a full lineup that I would actually make. Now, your optimizers may have made that. Like my optimizer ended up finishing third in the 50 cent max tournament play for the O'Reilly race earlier today. Andrew says the money in GPP is at the top, so you want to play to win or minimum cash. Yeah. So, it's kind of like going out and betting on sports. So going out and betting whatever, $10, $100, $25 on the Yankees to win. Straight up, no runs, no whatever, just straight up, they're going to win. Well, you're only going to probably get, for a $10 bet, you're probably only going to win $8. I mean, it's an $8 win if they actually win. And they win, 60, 65% of their games. Whereas the more parlays you put into it, the more difficult that gets, the less the odds that it's going to hit, the more that the betting, the Vegas, the casino, whatever, the sports book is willing to say, okay, well, if you're willing to take the risk of the Yankees winning by more than 1.5 runs, and Aaron Judge hits a home run, and the pitcher throws 7 strikeouts. Well, all of a sudden, it went from kind of a negative number to all of a sudden it's a plus 200 or plus 20. So your $10 bet, if all 4 of those things happen, would be $200, a little less likely to happen compared to only the one shot, which is more of a cash play. So that kind of gives you maybe a little bit better idea of what a cash play is compared to what a large field GPP play is. At least that's kind of the way I have built it in my head, and it kind of works for me, but I'm sure there's a million different ways to explain it. Cam says won $400 with Heim, top Toyota. Had another bet for $1,600 Reddick winner. Wow, that would have been nice. McDowell and Heim, top 10. Yeah, so you had a very, very profitable race, especially with the $400 win with Heim. Would you have? What was he? 2,500 or 250 or 25 to 1? So what did you have? Like a $10 bet, $5 bet for Heim to win the 400. So, but we are. If the answer is that, I'm going to get back into building some of these lineups for this year's Sonoma, but please, $25. So yeah, $25 for Heim to win. It's a long shot. But he was good in practice, and the Toyotas have been really good. So yeah, good for you, Cam. That's a good hit. But as you see, I mean, you probably had a lot more for Tyler Reddick to be the winner, to get 1,600. So you probably still were up for the day, but to get that $1,600 Reddick win, that probably took $100 to get to that point, if not maybe even a little bit more. So, but yeah, good for you. Good hit. All right, so our optimal lineup. So this comes in very important to look back at previous races at a particular track, or similar style tracks. So this weekend's a road course, of course. But so we're looking at other road course style tracks. Sonoma, Circuits of the America, or COTA, what we just did in San Diego, Watkins Glen, our prime examples when they raced in Mexico, the Roval. Anytime they're turning right and left, those are comparison tracks. We don't want to compare Sonoma to Martinsville or to Daytona. They don't. Shane Van Gisbergen is not the favorite when we go to those. He's the favorite at road courses. So by doing so, we're looking at other road courses, Sonoma and Coda. And what we're looking at is how many points did it take to make the optimal lineup? And this comes important when you start to build your lineups. And when we start to put everybody on the calculator, this may make a little bit more sense if you're fairly new to NASCAR DFS. So Shane Van Gisbergen last year here at Sonoma got 86.8 points. That's a huge point total. He led 97 of the 110 laps. That's a dominating performance. And that's when actually dominator points come into play. So out of the expensive guys, and my expensive line is $9,000 and up. The average is like $7,000 to $9,000. The value plays are $7,000 or less. So this one actually has 7,200 and 7,100, so probably 7,500 or less is kind of what I had. Yeah, value plays $7,500 or less. So what I'm looking for is how many points is it going to take for an expensive driver to potentially make the optimal lineup? Well, just real quick, if we look, we've got, of course, got the 87 points for Shane, 54 points for Chase Elliott, 52 points for Michael McDowell. Then at Coda, which was 95 laps, so similar lap totals, road course, 66, 49, 49, 48. Then, once again, San Diego from last week, 52, 57, 53. So you can start to see that we're kind of in this ballpark. The 86 points from SVG was just a dominating performance. These other ones, it's, 50, 60 points. So I'm going to put what a driver needs that's expensive, $9,000 or more. I'm going to put they need at least 55 to 60 points to be what I'm thinking when I'm building my lineups as a potential optimal driver. That doesn't mean you still can't potentially win with a slightly suboptimal driver. So that's why I always look at, so if we go back to last week's race, AJ Allmendinger had 49 points. He was $8,500. Well, we had plenty of salary left. And 3 points difference was not that big of a points difference. That would, if you had put AJ Allmendinger in your lineup instead of, Chris Buescher, prime example. Chris Buescher got 52.45 points. AJ got 49 points. 3.45 points difference. You may not have won the top prize, but you probably would have finished with double, triple, or even quadruple what you put in. Now, if you're running 20 lineups, you need to have 2 or 3 of those lineups hit, or you need to finish in the top 10. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. And that's why I always look back at like-minded lap counts and track types, so I know how many points does a particular driver need. So now that we have the top tier drivers and what they need, what do the less expensive drivers or the cheap drivers need to potentially make optimal? Well, Sonoma last year, Josh Berry, finishing 13th, $5,100, only needed 42 points. Justin Haley, same thing, $5,800, only needed 42 points. That doesn't mean there weren't drivers that had better point scores, but because we spent $49,700, there's only $300 left. So there could have been a driver, that was $6,400 and had 48 points or 47 points, doesn't fit. So it just kind of falls into that place. So there are still opportunities to make money not have the optimal. And that's where the cash tournament comes into play, is you don't always have to be optimal. It's a little more forgiving. Where tournament plays, especially the large field tournaments, when you're playing 14, 18, 20,000 lineups, you're going to have to probably get real close to the optimal. So for our for our less expensive drivers, our value drivers, we're kind of in this 40-ish ballpark, 42, 43, 44 point range. And then I also look at the top 15 in points. Let me pull this map up real quick, or this chart up that I use. So it's maybe a little on the small side, but I take every race and I put them into, of course, the category of road courses or ovals, short ovals, long ovals, intermediates, super speedways, and whatever. And I put them into this spreadsheet, and I have, of course, where I'm not necessarily concerned about who the driver is or their price tag. I want to know where they started from and what, because this gives you parts of the picture. And when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at who is the top 15, or what was the top 15 points. As you can see, all the way up top, 74.25 for Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell didn't win the race, didn't lead. Shane Van Gisbergen at Mexico led 60 of the 100 laps and had less points than Christopher Bell, who started 31st and finished second. Good finish, but he didn't win. He still outscored SVG, who dominated that race and ended up winning by like 16 seconds. But what I'm also looking at is this a place differential race, or is this a dominator race? Road courses are not typically dominator races. They are finishing position and place differential races. So it's how many positions can you move up or down. Down is negative, up is positive. To get to here. So I draw the line at the top 6, and then I draw a line at the top 15. And that's what I'm really curious and interested in looking at. So when I'm looking at this, it's this 43, 45, 52, 52. And where did they all start from? Well, as you can see, only one driver started in the top 26 for the top point getters at Mexico. San Diego last week, nobody started in the top 10. Most of it came from the teens and the 20s. Watkins Glen from earlier this year, Michael McDowell and Shane Van Gisbergen were the only two drivers that started. Well, Ty Gibbs started 10th, so he would be in the top 10. So we had 3 drivers that started in the top 10 at Watkins Glen. Sonoma last year, we had 3 drivers that started in the top 10. This also tells me that don't necessarily be afraid of starting somebody from the pole or outside pole, because a lot of times, some races, it'll never happen, especially super speedways. So this is a lot. San Diego last week was kind of a crapshoot because all of the big players got taken out early. The normal is typically the guys that start up front typically stay up front, especially the really good ones. As you can see, SVG first. SVG started first. SVG started first. Tyler Reddick started first. And then, you need somebody that's going to finish in the top 10 at these things. So hopefully that also helps make sense. All right. So now we have a pretty good idea of the point totals that we need, the prices that they come from, how many high price drivers can we fit in compared to low price drivers, how low can you go? And as you can see, 5,300, 5,700, you can go up 5,100. Typically the lowest guys, 5,000, sometimes they go as low as 4,500, but you can dig down pretty deep. But the percentage owns for, like I said, Riley Herbst last week was what, 5%, 6%? That would be the sleeper pick. All right, let's get into the driver breakdown. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone that's watching. If not, please feel free to ask questions. I'll try to explain it better, but I think that's the best explanation I can come up with. And hopefully that made sense. SVG, who we just saw, dominated this race last year. 98 laps led. Absolutely killed the field. Well, everybody else is maybe starting to catch up to Shane. He's not starting from the pole this year. He's starting from 6th. His practice speeds were 5th and 6th. Now, there was a slight difference. SVG they have 2 separate groups for practice and qualifying. And they split the field in half. And where you finished last week is the group that you come in. Well, because SVG finished last or next to last week, he has to practice in Group 1. Group 1 typically has slower qualifying times than Group 2. So there's a noticeable difference between being able to go early or go late. The track is cleaner, which means the rubber is kind of not on the track because you're only having a couple cars out on the track at a time. It cleans the rubber up off of the track, which gives you more grip. So SVG having to go early. Well, I'm sorry, take that back. It's the opposite. You want the track to get rubbered in, gives you more grip and less tire wear. So, but there's a science. The track will also become slightly cooler at certain times. Group 1 is typically slower in qualifying, faster in practice. Group 2 is typically a little slower in practice, but faster in qualifying. So either way, SVG was kind of up against a tough odd on making the pole because he was not in what's considered to be the better qualifying group. So hopefully that makes sense. There's a ton of physics and tire grip and clean tracks and temperatures and everything else that all go into that equation. But the easiest way is typically Group 1 is slower than Group 2 when it comes to qualifying. And it's typically the reverse when we go from practice. Group 1 is typically faster, Group 2 is typically slower. This week's a little bit different. You just have to watch practice to kind of see which group happened to be faster or slower. And that doesn't necessarily mean that Shane's not the fastest guy on the track. Because of the track conditions weren't as favorable for Shane, where they were more favorable for Ty Gibbs, who was in the second group. So I'm not concerned with SVG starting 6th. He's not going to be able to lead as many laps, but as we've seen, Dominator points don't matter all that much when it comes to road courses. Now, Sonoma here last year, because he led so many, it was an issue. And if you didn't have Shane, you probably weren't going to finish well. But, I mean, last week, if you didn't have Shane, you did well. So, it's kind of a coin flip. That's why I typically try to stay for whoever I think is going to be the chalk, the highest percentage owned driver. I typically try to stay real close to the field. If I'm running, 80 lineups, an SVG I think is going to be around 50% owned. I'm probably going to have 40 of my 80 lineups with SVG. So I'm kind of just like balancing it out. And it's like, okay, I'm going to make sure that if SVG does well, I'm going to have 40 of my lineups that will do well for that one driver. I'm also going to go on the flip side. If SVG has a bad day, I want to have some lineups that are still left that could potentially win. And, I ended up doing okay. Now, I just didn't have the right people in the right lineups. I had the right percentages. I just didn't have the right people in the right lineups. So, either way, so this page here is the driver reference card or the driver breakdown. And this shows me everything about SVG. from his price tag on DraftKings, which is $14,000, which is really expensive. Last week he was $13,000. He's starting from the 6th position. His practice speeds were 5th, and this was for a single lap. He did 14 total laps of practice, and he was 6th on the 5-lap average. 5 consecutive lap average. So he went out and ran 5 consecutive laps without coming in for a pit stop. A lot of times I do 10, but because they only did 14 laps of practice, not everybody in the field did 14 laps. Where everybody but Noah Gragson today had at least a 5-lap average. So I'm comparing apples to apples instead of half the field doing 10 laps and half the field not doing 10 laps. You just don't know what the actual who's slow and who's fast. Whereas on a 5-lap average, which is, still 10 miles of racing, gives you a pretty good indication of how fast or slow somebody is and how well their car's balanced and those types of things. So then, once again, I go back and I'm looking at track types. COTA, Watkins Glen, San Diego from this year, Sonoma from last year, and Mexico from last year. Well, out of those 5 races, SVG's won 3 times. He's also had four of those 5 races he's finished in the top 5, which also equates to 4 in the top 10, 4 in the top 20, with a 51.7 DraftKings average. Well, we said pretty much to make optimal for his price tag, he's going to need to be at least in the 50s, and for that price, he's probably going to need to have 55 points to be in the optimal. And then his average running position for those 5 races is 7.3. Last year here at Sonoma, we already talked about it, he finished first. This will change with everybody else because not everybody can finish first last year at Sonoma. His road course total career, so he has 16 total starts in the Cup Series on road courses. He has 8 wins, so half the time he's winning the race. 9 of those 16, he's finished in the top 5. 12 times out of those 16, he's finished top 10 with an 8.3 average finish. So that gives me a real good picture on whether somebody's really good at road courses, they're hit or miss at road courses, or they suck at road courses. And then you can go back and look at practice speeds and go, okay, he's really good at road courses. His practice speeds are really good. He's probably pretty good. That's probably a pretty good choice to put in. So then this gives me a real comparison on what his speed was compared to everyone else's. And I have no earthly idea what this or why this from 8 to 13 he did here. Because he went from a 76 second lap to an 82 or 83 second lap. Honestly, I've watched practice, kind of. I was in the car coming back from a baseball tournament, but I was listening to it. I was like, I never remember him going that slow. But either way, SVG is the golden yellow look here. AJ Allmendinger is the blue, which is had the fastest 5-lap average. And Ryan Blaney had the fastest 1-lap average. So I have all of those comparison. And then the white line is the average for all the drivers in practice. So this will show up a little bit better when we get to somebody like Tyler Reddick, because he didn't have that huge spike like SVG does here. So then I forgot to pull up my website. Pull that over now and get that set up. So if you go over here and go to the DK calculator and you pull that up, and it's mislabeled up here. I need to yell at Claude Cowork, tell it to fix it later. I'll do that later tonight. But don't worry, it's still SVG, $14,000. He qualified in the 6th position. And what it has done is taken all of my spreadsheets, and for the same track type for the last 5 races, he has a 51.7 DraftKings average, best finish of 1st, worst finish of 38th, average fast laps of 19.8, average laps led of 48, and out of those 5 starts. then this trend is actually the last 10 road courses. He has a 5.8 average finish. He finished first or 38th, 20 fast laps, 42 laps led, and 9 total starts. That's why the 5's not right. It's 9 total starts. So then what this does is we have his qualifying position. What this is doing is it's taking all of these numbers, the averages, and it's projecting him as to having a 9th place finish. I mean, sure, that's potentially where SV is going to finish, but typically their SVG finishes last right off the track, or he finishes top 3 or wins. So 9th, I'm going to move that down. So this is where you start to build your story behind your lineups. And if you're running a cash lineup, you're looking for what's the most likely outcome without finding a wild card, not finding the Rally Herbst, not finding the Cole Custer, you're just looking for what 6 drivers probably have the best odds of having a good finish that typically have good finishes. Now, for a tournament, we're looking for the more nuanced plays. Now, with him qualifying in 6th, I don't think he's going to get to the front quickly. He could get there by potentially lap 5. Well, there's only 25 laps in the first stage. So maybe he leads 15 laps in the first stage. Well, he's going to probably flip the stage. Even though actually he may try to not flip the stage because he needs some chase points. That's why it's also very important to also understand and know what the driver's motivation is for this race. Of course, their top motivation is going to be win. The second motivation is, how do I optimize my NASCAR points day? Well, one of those is stage breaks. And where do they finish in stages? Because if you can finish first in a stage, it's 10 points. Well, the winner of a race, I think they changed it this year, I think it's 55 points. But if you can finish first in both stages and then third, you can potentially outgain the guy who wins. And for SVG, he probably has a pretty good shot of actually driving back through the field and still winning the race. So my thought process is, if SVG has the opportunity to get some stage wins, because right now he's 8 points outside the top 16 to make the chase. The chase is a big deal. It's a couple $1 million more of a payday by making the chase or not making the chase. So there is a motivational factor for SVG and SVG's team to make the chase, as well as win the race. So there are different motivations for every driver that's in this field. And that's where you start to understand what the driver's doing, what NASCAR's doing, what DFS is doing, what you think other DFS players are going to be doing, and how do you optimize for all of those different scenarios. So you build storylines behind the different lineups, whether it's cash, whether it's a GPP play, whether it's betting, all those things, you have to kind of build the storyline behind it. And how do you get to that finish? And with that finish, what 6 drivers potentially make the most sense? Well, I'm building the lineup on SVG as the favorite. He's the favorite betting odd in Vegas or whatever sports book. I'm going to project that he's going to get finished first because that's what all the professionals say. That's what all the numbers say. 50% of the time he does finish first, which is a huge percentage. And then I go, okay, what's his average fast laps? What's his average laps led? Well, it's 48 and 20. Well, that's a lot of times he's starting from the pole and the averages kind of come into there. So 48, I mean, that's almost half the laps. That may be right, but it doesn't need to be that high. That gives him a 71 point threshold, which is I mean, we only need to get to probably 55 or 60 points for him. So we could actually bring this laps led down to 30. And I typically go 2 for 1 or 3 for 1 laps led to fast laps. So I'm going to do 30 laps led, and I'm going to bring this down to 10. Well, that still gives me a 62 point score. More than enough to be in the optimal range. 60 points, even at 14,000, will absolutely, if you have him in your lineup, along with the other appropriate drivers, will absolutely, Shane will do what he needs to do for your lineup. Now, as you can see, 1 spot difference is 4 points. That's pretty big. So if he gets to second, it's 58 points. Another spot's 2 more points. Another spot's 2 more points. Another spot's 2 more points. 2 more points. Now you can see how this calculator goes up and down depending on where you finish. So, if it's a top 3, 56 points is still probably close enough to you having a good day in DFS. So I'm perfectly fine still taking SVG, taking that ownership risk at probably 40, 45, 50%. So I'm going to lock the score with him winning first, because that's the storyline that I'm building for this scenario. All right, so then what you do is you build your scenario. You put this wherever. If you think SVG is going to suck it up and he's going to finish 38th again and not lead any laps, you just change it. And this is fully free and available for everyone to use. So, but you have to remember, as you begin to build this calculator out, do not close this window. Do not press anything else. Stay on the DK calculator, because if you switch or move out, you watch, I'll do it since we have the first driver. I go to blogs, and I go back to calculator, it gone. You got to rebuild it. And if you get all the way down to the bottom end, there's no way to save it. There's no way for me to get it back. It's just part of how the system works. But just don't leave this page till you have everything done. I'll show you how to print it and how to get your lineups done. So we'll go to 30, 10, first, 62. You hit the lock score button. Now you can move to the next driver, which is Tyler Reddick. You can come over here to ranking. You can, as long as you stay inside this DK calculator, which is calculator, rankings, and optimizer, you can come over to ranking, and you'll see we've only locked Shane in, so he's the only one here right now. But as we begin to build this out, we'll look at this, and it'll keep building everyone out as we lock them in. And then when you get to the optimizer, it'll fill that in. So it's got the projection over here at 62, because that's what I locked them in at. The rest of these are just what the computer thinks they may finish. And you can use just that. But I've also added into a few things here. I put the starting position on this page, so you now know where SVG is starting. The RIT rank, which is where my spreadsheets have ranked SVG as the number 1 pick. So, all right, back to the calculator, back to Tyler Reddick, back to the driver breakdown. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. I try to give everybody all the information they need to potentially build winning lineups. And I know these videos are extremely long. They're 2.5 hours long. I know of a few other channels out there that do an hour. Mine are 2.5 hours. And I know they're long videos. I wish I could make them shorter, but I want to make sure that everyone has a full understanding of how to play and how to play correctly. Tyler Reddick, 10,500. Now we'll start to get into a rhythm, and we'll start to move through these pretty quickly. So Tyler Reddick, 10,500, starting 11th. Practice speeds were 3rd on single lap, 4th on 5-lap consecutive average. Daniel says finished 12th in the $12 today. Looks like a lot of options for tomorrow. Yeah, there are a bunch of options for tomorrow. We were in the same contest together, dude. I finished, where did I finish in that tournament? I think I finished well. the $12 tournament. What was that called? Because the $33 tournament, I placed 12th, and I can't remember what the other one, what that $12 tournament was called. Was it the Piston? That's the $10 tournament. Let's see. Brake pad. The hot rod, no. The Piston? No. I can't remember what that tournament's called. But I'm pretty sure I was in the tournament with you. I think I ended up finishing okay. I don't know. We'll look at it later. The $4,000 engine block. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Be on the first page. 8,000 pit stop. There it is, the engine block. Yeah, good job. You beat me. I finished 49th. Won $20 on my $12 entry. So, good for you. 12th should have won you what, 40 or $50 on a $12 entry? Probably pretty good. All right, Tyler Reddick. Starting 11th, practice 3rd and 4th. He got the win this past spring at Coda. And for the other 5 tracks we're comparing to, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 39.3 Draftkings average. Remember, SVG was at what, 51? Yeah. And a 13.1 average running position. You changed off of Love last minute because I thought he was going to the back and would be trapped. Yeah, he didn't go to the back. He actually had a pretty good run. 5-way tie for 12th. They got $38. Okay. That's not bad. I mean, that's triple your money. Anytime you can triple up your money, it's a really good day. Anytime you can break even in DFS is a good day. Because all you're doing is waiting for that one tournament where you hit. And I've had a few of those. And those days are fun. Those days will carry you for the rest of the year, maybe even longer. But out of 35 total road course starts, he has 4 wins. So 10% of the time. Or, yeah. Is that right? Yeah, 4, 10, 40. Yeah. 10% of the time, he's getting a win on a road course. 11 out of 35, he's finishing top 5. 11.1 average finishing position. Tyler Reddick's a really good road course racer. The Toyotas are extremely fast right now. We look at his practice speeds. He is right there with Blaney, with AJ, well faster than the average on the field, all the way up until about lap 14. And by that point, if you're this much faster than everyone else, you in the front pack are going to be 10 seconds ahead of everybody. And by the time it levels out, they're not going to catch you. Daniel also asked, did you do your in-season bracket, and who do you have winning if you did? I have not done that yet. I need to do that. And depending on when this thing finishes up, maybe I'll do it at the end of the video. It won't take me long to do it. I've glanced at it. It won't take me long to get through it. But I haven't looked 3 weeks from now who's left in it and then who potentially could do well. And there's still the wild card of Atlanta. I mean, the same thing happened last year. The wild card of Atlanta really threw it for a loop. All right. So Tyler Reddick, starting 11th, should easily get himself a top 10, probably a top 5. Starting 11th, though, he's going to look for a good finishing position. If he can potentially squeeze a couple stage points in, he will. But I think Tyler Reddick is looking just to continue to have nice, solid top 5 type finishes. So more likely he's going to flip the stage. He's going to pit early, and he's not going to worry about the stage points. So with that being said, I'll put him in for 5 or 6, 7 laps led and 3 fast laps, but I think he's going to finish in 4th. That's 50.2. That's real close to that 55 point total. That puts him probably easily still in my top 15. In fact, it does. Top 15, it clears the 33 point line because 33 points or higher will only 15 drivers will hit that. And he only needs 4.8 more for the optimal 55. So I'm fine with that. I think he could even probably get to a 2nd or 3rd. He may even get to a win. But my storyline is SVG wins. So probably not going to have anybody else winning also. Now, I will have guys that I'll put in 4th place for 2 or 3 different guys because it's like, I think they could get a top 5, but I'm a little unsure if it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So, Jano says, I have Hostvar winning in mind. Who's Hostvar up against tomorrow? I think it's actually a fairly level match for them. Hostvar's not good at road courses. I know he's good for 1-2 laps, but his good finish at Watkins Glen 2 years ago was a fluke. Half the field was wrecked, and it was a late strategy call that got him there. So, all right. So we've got Tyler Reddick. Did I save him? Yep, a score locked him in, so we can look at the rankings. It now shows SVG at 62, Tyler Reddick at 50.2. So we're good there. He's locked in. Let's move on to our next driver, Connor Zilic. Man, this kid has just had rough luck. He had rough luck in qualifying for the O'Reilly race earlier today. Qualifying was yesterday, but he had a flat tire in qualifying. How do you have a flat tire in qualifying? You have 15 minutes to make a lap. The problem is they waited till there was 3 minutes left on the clock before they made their qualifying lap because the track was cooling off and they wanted a cooler track. Either way, he got a good solid 2nd place finish today. He was one of the fastest cars on track. He got some stage points, even though he doesn't need stage points because he's not running for the O'Reilly race or Cup or series title or whatever. He's looking for wins. He finished 2nd to SVG. So Connor Zilic, $10,000, starting 17th. And I don't know what to tell you with Connor Zilic. One of these days, the kid's luck is going to turn around. Plain and simple. I am a Connor Zilic fan. I've got his shirt on right now. I really, really like his attitude, his mentality. He's just had the worst luck of anybody out there. He made his way to the front last week at San Diego, and because Austin Hill decided to dump it into a corner, wrecked him and SVG. Without that happening, who knows how everybody finishes, but it happened, and you move on. But at some point, one of these races, Connor Zilic is going to end up having a good race. He's really good at Sonoma, along with SVG. I think he's probably better at road courses than Tyler Reddick is. Just his luck has been really bad. So, does that change? And if we look at his practice speeds, his stats are crappy. Get it. One of these days, he's going to end up having a good race. Tomorrow could be it. It also could not be it. He could also continue to have really bad luck. So, how do you... And this is where you have to make a decision when you're building your lineups and you're creating the story of, does Connor Zilic have a good day or does Connor Zilic have a really bad day? And I don't know which way to tell you to go because I don't even know which way to send him. I will be a 50-50 split. I'm going to have lineups. Am I going to run him 50%? No. Am I going to run him probably 30-35% of my lineups? Yes. I'm just going to continue to dump money into it, knowing that at some point the luck will turn around. That may not be for another 2 years. I don't know. But Connor Zilic is one of the best road course racers in NASCAR currently, with just really bad luck. So I'm going to put him at like a 7th place finish. And because he's so far back, he doesn't care about stage points. So he's going to flip the stage. I'm going to leave him with maybe 1 lap led, but I think he ends up having maybe 2 or 3 fast laps because he's that fast. But I don't know if he leads any laps. So we'll leave him 1 and 2. That's a 48.2. It's not great. It's not bad. I mean, it's 2 points lower than Tyler Reddick. So, but if you think he's going to get a top 5, he jumps over Tyler Reddick. You know, if you think he goes and wins, he's got a higher score than SVG does. I want to leave him at like a 7th and kind of go from there and just know I'm probably going to run him 25 to 30% of the time. So I'm going to lock him in at a 48.2. You can come over your rankings. You see that they're there. All right. Kyle Larson next in line. My first favorite driver. $9,500 starting 3rd. Kyle Larson is, I found this very interesting listening to practice and them. I can't remember who it was, Kim Kuhn or one of the reporters was talking to Kyle Larson's crew chief earlier in the week or at the beginning of the weekend or something. And Kyle Larson is not a driver to spend a lot of time diagnosing and watching. They all pay attention to what other drivers are doing, how they're doing it, and those types of things. But Cliff Daniels, Kyle Larson's crew chief, said that Kyle spent an extremely long time, not that he could replicate what SVG does in the way of heel toe braking and shifting, but how he was running the different lines around Sonoma. You got to remember, Kyle Larson has won Sonoma before, both in Cup and in the Xfinity / O'Reilly series. Kyle Larson by himself is a really good road course racer. 47 total starts, 5 wins. Better than 10% of the time. 12 top 5s. He was 2nd in practice, 3rd in 5-lap consecutive average, and he's starting 3rd. Can he get out front, lead some laps, and win this thing? Absolutely. Does he? How do you know? I put Kyle Larson as, if I've got SVG at like 40 or 45 or 50% of my lineups as him winning, I'm probably going to have Kyle Larson at like 25 or 30%. So that eats up somewhere between 70, 75, 80% of my lineups of who I think could win. Look at his practice speeds. You know, I'm looking more at the long run speeds, and Kyle Larson from lap 7 through 16 is crushing everybody. It's extremely good on the long run speed. Can that translate to a good finish? Maybe. So I'm going to bring him down. I'm going to have him finishing in 2nd because I think he's going to be my 2nd highest pick in my head to potentially win. With that being said, I think he leads 10 laps and has 3 fast laps. 46.9. I'm going to lock that in. So as you can see, Connor Zilic finishing in 7th. Oh, I locked that in. Why did that change? Here, let's go to the rankings. Yeah, Connor Zilic. Either way, it should have stayed. But I had Connor Zilic finishing in 7th. And he has 1.3 more points than Kyle Larson does. So, either way. Next in line here. But, yeah, I'm probably going to run Kyle Larson 30, 35%. I think for the guys that are starting close to the front, I think he has one of the best opportunities to knock off a win tomorrow. Next to SVG. Michael McDowell, also one heck of a really good road course racer. $9,300 starting in 4th. His practice speeds were 13th in overall speed, and 11th in 5-lap average. He only has one win, and that was at the Indy road course. But in the last 5 road courses we're looking at, 4 top 5s and 5 top 10s. So 5 out of the 5, he's finished in the top 10. Average running position of 10.4, 42.9 Draftkings. He finished 4th here at Sonoma last year. Daniel says, first look, fading SVG. There's some dogs ahead of him tomorrow. Osavar, Chastain, either he won't get the laps led to pay off, or another wreck is ensuing. I also see Larson stealing the lead. Yep, I agree with that. No, I agree with that. 30% out of the. Yeah, I mean, the SVG price is going to probably end up limiting me a little bit because it ended up limiting me in the O'Reilly race today. So it's probably I probably won't end up being close to 50%. It's probably going to end up being closer to that 35-40%, and Larson will end up being about that same amount also. Daniel says, built a great lineup of $500 left on the table for tomorrow's race or for the race from earlier today. But yeah, there are lots of ways to have money left over on the table, especially if you don't put SVG into a lineup. You can put some really strong lineups together because everybody's pretty soft on price. I mean, Michael McDowell, $9,300. Kyle Larson, $9,500. Both are extremely good at road course racing. But Michael McDowell, $9,300, starting 14th. Practice speeds were 13th and 11th. We went through all of that. Go to his practice chart. It looks really, really good. I mean, like I said, this is Larson's speed was still down here between 13, 14, 15, 16. That's a huge deal that his car was extremely well balanced and he really took care of his tires compared to everyone else. Because everyone else jumped way up here. And as you see, there's a fair amount of fall off. Not as much as we had last week at San Diego, but there's a fair amount of fall off. We're at 76.5 at lap 3. By lap 13, we're at 78. We're a full 1.5 seconds in 10 laps of fall off, and it just continues to go up. If we look at the average, we're at 76.7, and out here we're at 78 flat. So, I mean, it's a good 1.2 seconds across the field on average of fall off speed. So, tires are going to matter. Daniel says, I have half of the Hendrick boys, Zilich, and my Latin brother Suarez. I do not like Bowman tomorrow. I know that. I don't mind Byron. I don't mind Elliott. And of course, as I just said, I like the Larson play. But I also like the McDowell play. Now, I don't think McDowell, if I've already spent, 70%, 75% of my thought process on wins, I only got 25% left. Michael McDowell does fall into there, but at like 10%, maybe 5%. So I'm going to move him down to like a 3rd or 4th. I don't think he leads a whole lot of laps. I'm going to leave him at 2 laps led and probably 2 fast laps. And I'm just going to lock it in there. So 41.4. Ty Gibbs, our pole sitter next in line, was 6th in single lap, 5th in 5-lap consecutive average. And over the last 5 road courses, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 9.4 average running position. That's a really good average running position. Finished 7th here last year. 24 total starts, does not have a win on a road course. He does in the O'Reilly/Xfinity series, but not in the Cup series yet. Not sure tomorrow is the spot for it, but track position means a ton. And his practice speeds were very good. You know, you look through it, he had one hiccup in here, but even his long run speeds, 13, 14, 15, are very similar to and close to what Kyle Larson's are. I'm going to probably give, since he's starting from the pole, I'll probably put at a 5 or 10% chance to win this race. So I'm still not going to put him in as a first place. This is what I said. I think it's, a third, fourth, or fifth. So I'm going to lock him in for a fourth, but I think he jumps to a lead at the start. And I think he's able to hold on and maintain probably for at least 10 laps. And we'll give him 4 fast laps. After that, I'm not sure he sees the lead again. So I'm going to lock him in there. I don't love the Ty Gibbs play. I'm probably going to be in the realm of, 15, 20% ownership, maybe 10 to 15. I don't love the play, but I also don't think Ty Gibbs will have huge amounts of ownership. And I think people are going to go towards more of an SVG or a Larson or one of those. Maybe even a Chase Briscoe. So I'm going to lock him in at a 41.3. It's not a bad day. It's not a great day. I'm going to have ownership in him because, as we've seen, road courses favors the pole sitter and outside pole sitter. All right, next in line here, Chase Briscoe, $8,900, starting in the 7th position. Good job on practice speeds. The Toyotas again just showing up with great speed. Hendrick is closing that gap, but Toyota still, hands down, are the fastest guys on the track. Just plain simple. Starting in 7th, he was 8th in single lap, 7th in 5-lap consecutive average. He does not have a win on a road course, just like Ty Gibbs. But 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s for the last 5 road courses we're comparing to. He does have an 18th place average finish. Now remember, that 18th average finish is taking into account when he was with Stewart-Haas Racing. So you can't hold that against him. More with all the Toyota, ever since he's been in JGR, it's a 13.1. So I think it potentially is kind of like a top 10 type day, 7th place, maybe a 6th place, somewhere in that realm. I think he's going to kind of finish where he starts. I don't think he leads a ton of laps. I think it's just a good, solid day for Briscoe. So I'm going to put him in for a 7th place finish. Don't think he leads any laps. I think he might have a fast lap or 2, and I'm going to lock him in there. Chris Buescher, next in line here. For the longest time, he was the road course most consistent driver, just knocking top 10s out every time he went to a road course. You literally could just punch him in for an 8th place finish, and it was either 8th or 7th every time. Every once in a while, he'd pop a top 5, but most of the time it was finish 7th, finish 8th, and it just was consistent. I mean, for like 12, 13, 14 races in a row, road courses in a row, he was just super consistent. I mean, if you look at it, look at this, 40 out of 46 total starts, he's finished in the top 20. 20 of 46, he's finished in the top 10. I mean, for somebody that's not known as a big road course racer, he does really well. He beat SVG at Watkins Glen 2 years ago. So he knows how to get around a road course. He's usually really good about just being consistent and staying on track with a little bit of speed too. His fall-off speed's a little bit worrying to me. But if he can get a good separation, a little bit of fall-off's okay. So I'll take Chris Buescher. He's got a decent starting spot. Gives me a little bit of place differential. I'm going to pencil him in for, a solid 9th place finish. I don't think he leads a ton of laps. Maybe he gets a fast lap here or there. But I'm going to lock him in for an 8th, 43.5. Lock that score in. Now, once again, go back and look at our rankings. Our rankings are starting to get built out. Still SV at top of the heap. Tyler Reddick, Zillage, Larson, Buescher, Vidal, Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe. And 62-37 are the point spreads. So Ryan Blaney, another one that you just don't think of as being a really good road course racer, has really started to come along and be just that, a really good road course racer. Now, the Fords in general are really struggling still. Just don't have the speed this year to compete with the Toyotas. And the Chevys are making inroads a lot faster than the Fords are. Now, Ryan Blaney has been doing pretty well. $8,500. Starting 16th. Practice speeds, he was fast. First in single lap, 8th in 5 laps. So his fall off was a little bit more steep than I like to see. But in the last 5 races we're comparing to, no top 5s, 2 top 10s, an average running position of 11.9. That's a little worrisome. Finished 36th here at Sonoma last year. 45 total starts, only 4 times in the top 5. Only 10% of the time, less than 10% of the time, he's finishing in the top 10 or top 5. Now, 18 of 45 is finishing in the top 10. Okay. He does have 1 win, 14.6 average finish. Look at his practice speeds. There's nobody else really to compare to other than AJ. And the problem is he just falls off a cliff after lap 10. Goes out, burns him up, and then falls off. That's a little worrisome. So we'll go to the calculator here. I mean, this has him finishing where he starts. I think it potentially is a little bit better than that. Like right at 10th. Don't think he leads many laps because he's starting too far back. Maybe he has a couple of fast laps. So 40.9. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'll have, somewhere between 10-15% ownership in Blaney. It's not going to be a full-on fade. It's not going to go very deep on him either. Or just differentiate my my lineups. He's $8,500. It's a good solid price for him. William Byron, $8,400, starting in the 13th position. He was 10th in single lap, 9th in 5-lap consecutive average. Not quite as fast as his teammate Larson, but respectable practice speeds. In the last 5 rated courses that we're looking at, no top 5s, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s. Not great. 15.3 average running position. He finished 8th here at this Sonoma race. 41 total starts, 2 wins, 7 top 5s, 16 top 10s. So slightly better than Ryan Blaney's stats and a 15.6 average finish. I think Ryan Blaney actually has a better average finish, 14.6. Yeah. So look at his practice speeds. He's fine on the short run and really starts to kind of fall off towards the tail end of the long run. They'll need to make some adjustments there. So 13th, I'm kind of putting him right there with a Blaney. I'm going to pencil him in for like an 11th. No laps led, maybe 1 fast lap. I'll lock him in at 35.5. AJ Allmendinger, the road course, the original road course ringer. $8,200 starting in 8th. He was 9th in single lap, 1st in 5-lap consecutive average. And over the last 5 road courses we're comparing to, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s. Pretty good for an old man. He's in his mid-40s and still just grinding out good finishes on road courses. He finished 18th here at Sonoma. His total career starts, 3 wins out of 53 starts, 10 top 5s, 28 top 10s, a 14.3 average finish. And when you look at his practice speeds, he's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Long run speed's not quite as good as Larson's, but still pretty good, decent long run speed. Starting in 8th, I honestly think this is like you can go either way, 6th or like a 13th. He's a grinder. I think he goes and ends up grinding out a 7th place finish. I don't think he's going to lead a bunch of laps. He may have a couple fast laps, but I'm going to pencil him in for a 7th. We'll lock it in at 38.9. I could easily go the other way and go to 13th, and he falls out. But I'll have 10-15% ownership in AJ. He's in a good starting spot that a lot of people are going to overlook him. But you could easily pair AJ with any of the other guys that are starting in the top 10, and it could end up with a pretty good lineup. Chase Elliott next in line here. I put AJ on the board, right? Yeah, score a lot. Next in line, Chase Elliott. Who somebody called out Chase Elliott for the win and said, "Well, look at his practice speeds." And other than liking Chase Elliott, I don't know why we would pencil him in for a win. He does not have a win in the next gen era on a road course. He's starting in 18th. His practice speeds were 19th and 21st in 5-lap. Over the last 5 road courses we're comparing to, I mean, he's pretty consistent, but it's a 17.3 average running position. Yeah, he got a 3rd place here last year out of 44 total starts. Now remember, this includes last gen and next gen. 7 wins. He was dominant in the Gen 6 era on road courses with a 9.6 average finish. He's just missing just something slightly. And if we look at the actual chart on his speed, he's running just bouncing up and down in between the average lines. And he's starting 18th. Now, he'll grind out and he'll end up getting closer to a top 10, 11th, a 12th, but I don't think he leads a lot of laps. He's not really in my book as a contender for a win. I think he gets closer to this 10th place finish. Like I said, it could be 11th, could be 12th, but I'm going to put him at 11. He's not one of the guys that's going to go out and run blistering fast lap times. That's just not who Chase Elliott is unless he's got the lead. And he just has that type of car, and in practice speeds, I just don't see it. I'll give him a token fast lap just because you can potentially get a fast lap, but you pit early, and you get out in clean air, even though you might be running 17th. It could be clean air because there's nobody in front of you to disturb the air, and that's still clean air. You can potentially run a fast lap. So I'll give him one. And an 18th to 11th for DFS purposes, it's not bad. It's a 40.5. We lock that in and we look at the rankings. It puts Chase Elliott 9th so far. All right, Christopher Bell next in line. Where's Christopher Bell? Here he is. 7,700. Good, decent price for somebody who's actually pretty good at road courses. The problem is, how is his risk going to hold up? I'm sure Brent Cruz is on standby. All indications are that Christopher Bell wants to run this entire race. There is still a potential that he'll need to get a relief driver. He'll start the race, no problem. He's guaranteed to get the points. I just don't know if this equates to end up having a decent day or not, but he was 23rd in single lap, 25th in 5-lap consecutive average. And honestly, I haven't looked at all the Toyotas, but that's one of the slower speeds for the Toyotas. He's a great road course racer when he's 100% healthy. Last week, sure, it was starting, 37, 38, something like that. I felt by him getting out and putting Cruz in the car was going to end up being a benefit. And either something broke or Cruz broke something in that car. Unsure. The car broke. That we definitely know. So with that being said, I just don't know if he ends up getting close to his average. I'm going to probably pencil him in for like a 16th or 17th place finish. And if we look at his practice speeds, they're almost all above average, or worse than average. So I don't love the Christopher Bell play yet for this week. We get Chicago next week. Absolutely. I think he's going to be perfectly fine. That wrist doesn't bother you at all. I'm going to put him in for an 18th. I don't think he leads any laps. I don't think he has any fast laps. It's going to be 22. My first guy that's outside of the point total I want to get to. William Byron's close, but yeah, I'm going to probably fade off of Christopher Bell. Daniel Suarez, 7,500, starting in the 21st position. Daniel, your Latin brother. Here, you like him, huh? Okay. Starting 21st. It's a good starting spot. The Spire cars had a ton of speed in qualifying. They had pretty good speed in practice. Starting 21st. Daniel's decent road course racer. He won at Mexico last year in the O'Reilly race. He got a win here at Sonoma 4 years ago. That's his only win on a road course. And out of 43 total starts, 6 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and then half the time he's finishing in the top 20. So I figure he'll probably end up getting a little bit better finish than what he's showing here. But nothing else makes me think he's going to have an incredible day. He's running just better than average to just worse than average towards the end. And that's, 17th, 18th, 19th running position for practice. Could he improve? Sure. Because I also think that our host of our way out punted his coverage. Yeah, I mean, I think 17th is not. I mean, that's what the projection's holding up to. And I don't think he leads any laps. I don't think he's fast laps. I think that's fine. I'm gonna put him at 31 points, and we'll move on. Sometimes the computer just figures out that that's correct. Next in line, Ross Chastain, $7,400. Starting in the 5th position, he was 7th in single lap, 2nd in 5-lap consecutive average. Yeah, I mean, if anything, the Trackhouse cars have is they know how to create speed on road courses. That could be an SVG thing, that could be a Connor Zillage thing, it could be a Ross Chastain thing. Because Ross has a win at COTA a couple years ago. That was actually his first Cup win. And his practice speeds were solid. Starting in 5th, though, I don't think he finishes any better than 5th. I think he actually falls off. He's got an average finish of 17.3, an average running for the Fast 5 races of 14th. Only one top 10 out of those 5 races. He fired off pretty fast, but then he fell off towards the end of his run. I think it's going to be much more like a 13, 14, 15th place type of finish for Ross. This has 22nd. I think that might be a little on the high end. We'll go 17th. I don't think he leads any laps. He might have one fast lap. We'll lock him at a 15.5. Will I run a lineup or two with Ross? Yeah, that's probably going to be about it, though. Carson Hocevar decides he wants to go really, really fast for a lap, which is great. But guess what? They don't pay a whole lot of money for winning the pole or finishing second for the pole in qualifying. He is notorious for burning up his stuff. And sure, it's fine to go out and put down a fast lap when there's nobody else around you. But you get an SVG, you get a Tyler Reddick, you get a Kyle Larson. And road courses are the best place for revenge. Typically, there's not much of an injury risk. There's not much of a chance of them coming back to do a payback during that race. There's lots of runoff room here at Sonoma. I think Carson Hocevar is a sitting duck again. And I have no interest whatsoever of watching what's about ready to happen to Carson Hocevar. He's got some pills that he's going to have to swallow here. And Sonoma has lots of areas of opportunity that people are not going to give Carson Hocevar the minute for the break. And they're going to put him in the dirt. Calling it now. He'll be lucky to finish top 25. So, Carson, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at a 29th. It could be worse than that. I don't think he might lead a lap. He's going to be bound and determined to go lead a lap. Well, I know Gibbs isn't real happy with him, so if Gibbs gets to his bumper, Gibbs will put him in the dirt pretty quick. So I'm going to lock it in at 13.7. I have absolutely no interest whatsoever of having any Carson Hocevar. Denny Hamlin, next in line here. Starting in the 9th position. What a qualifying effort for Denny Hamlin. I do remember there was a couple years ago, where he actually got the pole at Sonoma. And I'm like, what is Denny Hamlin doing? And sure enough, by, I think, stage 1, he was done and in the garage. I mean, he's another one who just, he's like, I'm not good at these things. I can strategize my way to a potential top 15, top 10, but that's really about it. And starting in 9th, that's either a dead even place differential or a negative place differential. If he gets a wild strategy and is able to finish in the top 5, it's just going to be that. It's not based on a whole lot, but I do like his long run speed. There is a little bit there, so I'm not completely taking away what Denny potentially has, because it's there. So I'm not negating that. And all he's looking for, he even said in his podcast, let me just get 2 solid 15th place finishes at both the road courses, and I'm going to turn the wick back up when we get to Chicago and the rest of the ovals. So if he's running in that 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th place position, he's just going to keep it there and be happy with it. So I'm not sure I'm going to have a whole lot of ownership. I mean, he could go and finish in 7th. I honestly think it's much more of about a 12th place finish for Denny. And if he's running in 12th, he's not going to push it. He's going to take his 12th and he's going to go and be like, hey, I didn't lose a lot of points and gain a lot of points to Reddick, but I'm going back to my bread and butter of intermediate ovals or intermediate oval tracks. Ryan Preece, $7,000. I tell you what, he had a rocket ship at some points last week at San Diego. But he's not known for the road course prowess. He's got an average running position of 16.2. He's never finished in the top 10 in the last 5 races, but all 5 times he's finished in the top 20. He just kind of grinds out, a 15th, 16th, 17th place finish, starting in 19th. His practice speeds were 15th and 17th. I think he's just kind of there in the teens. At least last week we saw moments in practice that he had, that there was some real speed with Ryan and just ended up with some bad luck. But I think we're kind of about the same point again with Ryan Preece. I look at his practice speeds. There are moments where he's pretty fast, and then there's moments where he's not. So I think it's kind of a finish where you start type of deal. So Ryan Preece starting in 19th. Maybe you get to 17th. No laps led. Yeah, maybe he has a fast lap or 2. So I'll give him a 29.9. Bubba Wallace. Oh man. I fully expect to wake up tomorrow morning and them going, hey, Bubba Wallace decided to get a new race car, or they had to do a lot more repairs than what they thought they were going to have to do. Because he wrecked in qualifying. He qualified 26th, so I expect him to start from the rear, which would be 36th. Starting 26th, that's not a big deal, because guess what? Bubba Wallace went 2 laps down last week. Bubba Wallace in practice speeds was pretty good. He was 4th and 13th. He's gotten much better at the road courses. Bubba Wallace could easily be, I don't know where to put him in ownership. I could, with a 26th place starting spot, but knowing that you're going to have to start from the rear, you go, nope, I'm going to fade it. I don't want to be any part of that. Sonoma's harder to pass at than San Diego was last week. I could see a case because I think Bubba Wallace is going to be sub 10% owned. Maybe right at 10%. I could see a case for not running him at all. I could see a case of running a fair amount of him and going, above, being ahead of the field on it. Because his practice speeds were really good. Average finish is 16th. I think that I'm fine giving him a 16th. I think he may end up having a couple fast laps. There are opportunities for him to get track position because of the way the stages fall. I'm fine leaving him at a 38.9. I mean, I think that still puts him in the ranking systems. I mean, that puts him 11th right now, right behind AJ, or tied with AJ, actually. So I'm perfectly fine with that. Joey Logano next in line here, $6,800, starting in the 10th position. His practice speeds were 12th and 12th. His average running position over the last 5 races is 19.2 with 1 top 10, 3 top 20s. He finished 9th here at this race last year. Yeah, I think this is about start and finish in the same spot. He had a couple laps in practice that were good. He kind of fell to the average and to the mean. I think it's just about that. I think it's, I'll give him a 12th. I don't think he has any fast laps. I don't think he gets any laps led. I'll lock him in for a 30.0 and we'll move on. I don't think that's not going to be enough for me to run a whole lot of. I'll have, 2 to 4 lineups out of 80. So like in that 5% range. Zane Smith, everyone's favorite. I think it is the number one fan favorite of this group. I mean, we all have other favorite drivers, but I think as a whole, everybody loves to play some Zane Smith. The problem is when Zane Smith starts in the top 10, he typically finishes in the top 10. When he starts towards the back, he usually finishes towards the back. Starting 24th, practice speeds were 18th, 16th. He's decent at road courses. He's not great at road courses. He has some races where he finishes really well, and some races he finishes really bad. It's very inconsistent. Starting 24th, there's some room. His practice speeds were better than average across the board. So I think he gains some positions. I don't necessarily mind taking a Zane Smith. I think it's like a 14th place finish. Maybe he's got a fast lap. I don't think he leaves any laps, but that's a 40.5. I mean, that puts him above Bubba Wallace. I mean, it puts him above AJ. So I still like the Zane Smith play. I don't know how sneaky it will be. I think he'll be in that 12, 13, 14% ownership. So if you go a little heavier than the field, you can, run that 18, 20% ownership range. I think I'm probably going to fall right around 15%. Is probably where I'll end up. Alex Bowman. Did I lock Zane in? I did. Okay. Alex Bowman next in line. Starting 22nd, his practice speeds were awful. 30th in single lap, 27th in 5-lap consecutive average. It's just, he just can't seem to improve. He's kind of stopped the bleeding. He's not getting much worse, but it's literally just there. It's existing. He's got to do something to improve his stock value, or he's going to end up finding himself not in this ride next year, and that's tough. But I mean, we look at his practice speeds; they're worse than average. Clearly, he's not even a lap where he's better than average. And he's starting close to the average spot. I think the computer has a 22nd place finish with 1 fast lap. I'm going to leave it there. I think that's probably about right. Riley Herbst next in line here. $6,400, starting in the 25th position. His practice speeds were 32nd and 31st. Riley Herbst, you were doing so well. And now, not so much. In the last 5 races on road courses, 1 top 10, which equated to 1 top 20. 21.8 average running position. He finished 25th in this race last year. He's starting 25th. He has an average 9-start finish of 22.1 with 1 top 10, 3 top 20s. Yikes. And his practice speeds were not good. This track is way too technical for a rally Herbst, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to move it to 23rd. I'm not going to have any laps led. And you're not going to get any fast laps. 22. That's what you get. So he's a fade. A fade. Austin Hill. 6,300, starting 12th. He was average today in the O'Reilly race. He was about average for practice. He qualified much better than average. He just overdrives these cars, and you can't overdrive this next gen car. It just doesn't work. Practice speeds are right at average, and he qualified better than average. Let's see. I mean, this has 36 because there's not enough data for it to really calculate. I'm going to put it as a 23rd. No laps led. I'm not going to give him any fast laps. 9 points. I don't have any interest in running Austin Hill. I did last week because he seemed to have some real speed. I mean, he won the O'Reilly race, so he definitely had speed. His practice speeds were pretty good. And he was coming off momentum of winning the O'Reilly race. And then he goes and wrecks himself and SVG and half the field. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people that are going to give Austin Hill many breaks either. I think he's on the short list of getting put into the dirt, along with Carson Hocevar. Austin Cindric, starting 23rd at $6,200. His practice speeds are 26 and 28th. There's another one that's been just a disappointment on road courses because he used to be in the O'Reilly series really good on road courses, and he just cannot figure out how to get the next gen car to perform on these road courses. It's a shame. Practice speeds aren't there. Qualifying wasn't there. Yeah, I mean, the computer has a 22nd, qualifying 23rd. I mean, maybe, I don't think he even gets a fast lap. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to put him back to 23rd, 22 or 20 points. Ty Gillen, who ended up having a really good day last week at San Diego, starting in 29th. I mean, that was the thing. Last week, we had all of the front row guys practicing fast and qualifying pretty fast and started up front, and they stayed up there. And that's typically what happens is they end up qualifying and practicing well, and it shows up in the race. When they don't practice well and they don't qualify well, they typically struggle. It seems to be a pattern with front row. And I'm just going to follow along with that pattern. He's starting in 29th. His practice speeds were 25th and 22nd. I mean, if you count that as a better lap than average on the first lap, okay. But after that, he was never close to average. And if we look at where he's at on the calculator, I mean, he is starting 29th, so there is decent room to run. But it's probably a 21st. It gives him 30 points. I think that's actually being generous. I'm going to move him back to 23rd. I'll have to score 26 and go on. All right. Brad Keselowski, next in line here at $6,000, starting 35th. 29th in single lap, 29th in 5-lap consecutive average. Another one who just used to be, he's never won at a road course. In fact, he's never really been consistent other than finishing in the top 20. Now he's starting 35th, but his practice speeds, actually, I mean, other than Buescher, practice speeds really weren't great. I mean, Priest was better than Brad, but Brad this is awful speeds. That's not good. I think it's better than 35th, but it may not be. The computer has 24th. I'm going to go with a 25th place finish. No fast laps. We'll gain 10 spots at 28 points, which isn't enough. You need to have at least 33 points to be in the top 15. If you're not in the top 15, I really don't have a whole lot of interest in running you other than one-offs or two-offs. That's really about it. John Hunter Nemechek, $4,200. No, sorry, 40. John Hunter Nemechek, $5,900, starting in 20th. He was 22nd in single lap, 30th in 5-lap consecutive average. He was super fast last week too, and had a pretty good run. But Eric Jones was not good. Jimmy Johnson was not good. Legacy needs to get back to the ovals and back to the ovals quickly because something is missing in that organization on how to be fast on road courses. Starting in 20th, I think that's really honestly his practice speeds were at or worse than average, and that's about where he's going to probably be at. I think it's like a 19th place finish, one spot difference. So, Austin Dillon, next in line here, starting in 30th, $5,800. 24th in single lap, 24th in 5-lap consecutive average. He finished 21st in this race last year, a 22.8 average finish on road courses. Never had a top 5, only 3 top 10s out of 48 starts. He's not a great road course racer either. And he's about average on speeds, but he's starting in 30th. I think it's potentially 18th, 19th, 20th place finish. Okay, that's where he's at. Probably not any fast laps. I'll give it a 33.5. Just inside that top 15. I'll have some ownership there. Eric Jones wrecked his car not once, not twice, but I think 3 times in practice. And ended up having a lot of damage. I expect him to report to the rear tomorrow also, even though he's starting already pretty much that far back there anyways. And last week, he struggled to ever get any speed. In the last 5 races on road courses, 3 top 20s, a 24.5 average running position. He finished 29th in this race last year. I think he improves his finishing position this week, maybe, because look at his practice speeds, they were awful. Eric Jones, 32nd, 24th. I think it's more like a 26. I'm going to lock him in at 22 points. Next in line here, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., another one that's just not good at road course racing, but I think he's better than 33rd. He's got a 22.4 average for his 51 total starts. No top 5s, 2 top 10s. I mean, he's right there with Austin Dillon, but at least he's starting in 33rd. So there is a little bit of maybe room to go. Also, Sonoma is not a track with a huge attrition ratio. We might lose 1, 2, maybe 3 cars to mechanical or wrecking. It's not notorious for having huge pileups. It's not notorious for it's usually one-off spins here or there that don't even get a caution, and you end up way back in the pack. I mean, look at what happened to Justin Allgaier today. I think he either spun or got spun 3 times in the race and was just awful. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting in 33rd, I think it's like a 20, maybe on the good side, 24th place finish. I mean, these practice speeds, they're bad. That's awful. But he's got a lot of room to run. 33rd, computer has 30th. I'll give him a 26. I mean, we haven't had anybody other than Austin Dillon that's even close to somebody that I want to run. So it's going to get real interesting down here of who the heck you take. Noah Gragson, not good at road course. 34th in qualifying, 34th in practice, 36th in 5-lap consecutive average. No top 20s in the last 5 races. And his total career at 18 total starts, 1 top 10, 4 top 20s, 23.3 average finish. It's just ugly down here. And you look at his practice speeds, they're not there. They're there, but they're not. They're Corey Heim. Not gonna be. They're Cody Ware-esque. Yeah. So Noah, I mean, got 29th. I'll give him a 28th. Just to be nice, but that doesn't do me any good. The one lone shining star back here, Cole Custer. 5,300, starting in 27th. His practice speeds were 20th in single, 20th in 5-lap consecutive average. A 20.1 average running position. I mean, this is not a bright star by any means, but it's like the only star in the back quarter of the field. He finished 23rd here last year. He's got a 21.1 an average finish. And his practice speeds actually are with the average. Where everybody else we've looked at for the last, 8 drivers are up here. At least he's with the average line. And he's cheap. And if you run an SVG, I think the problem is if everybody else is looking at this, Cole Custer could end up not being a sleeper. He could end up being the lone cheap pick. I'm probably going to have 15, maybe 20% ownership in Cole. Because if you're going to run a $14,000 driver, you're going to have to find at least 2 drivers in this $6,000, $6,500 group and lower. And the only other one on the board is Austin Dillon. I think Cole Custer maybe gets to an 18th. I'm not sure he gets any fast laps. I think it's probably closer to 19th. We'll put him at 33 and lock him in. So it's Austin Dillon and Cole Custer. The next driver we're looking at is Josh Berry, who's starting 28th. He was 33rd in single lap, 33rd in 5-lap consecutive average. Last 5 road courses, 1 top 20, a 25.6 average running position, a 25.9 average finish. Then you're going to get 26. You're starting in 28th. And his practice speeds, look at the difference. This is Josh Berry. This is Cole Custer. Who are you going to take with the $100 price difference? I'm taking Cole Custer all day long. But the problem is, so will everybody else, if they actually pay attention. I don't think he has any fast laps. I'll leave him at 25, but that's being generous in my opinion. Maybe Ty Dillon, 31st. But he was 28th in single lap, 34th in 5-lap consecutive average, 24.5 average running position, a 25.5 average finish, 17th here last year. And his practice speeds don't ever get better than average. At least they're a little closer. Maybe Ty Dillon's in play for 18th is when he finished last year. We'll move it to 19th. That's 34 points. That's better than Cole Custer and Austin Dillon. That's Josh Berry. No, Josh Berry's 25. I didn't log. That's 26. All right, Ty Dillon. You go to 20th. It's 34 points for 20th. He finished 17th last year in this race. So, yeah. We have 3 guys down at the bottom that I think are potentially worth taking. And Cody Ware is not one of them. 36th starting spot, 36th practice, 35th on 5-lap consecutive average. Never finished in the top 20 ever on a road course. 31.2 average finish over 23 total starts. And this is the worst of the worst for practice lap times. So, and if this were a high attrition race, I'd say, okay, maybe he's got a shot at gaining some spots. But I think at best it's 32nd. We'll have to score at 14th. All right, so now we'll look at our rankings. We've got SVG at the top at 62, Tyler Reddick at 50, Connor Zillage, Larson, Busher, McDowell. Now, you can play a bunch of these. Any in-season challenge take for the first round. Yep. Let me finish this just real quick. Because I want to show you the optimizer real fast. So, we've got everybody lined up. Pretty much Joey Logano on the low end, upwards. So, Logano, Suarez, Cole Custer, Austin Dillon, Ty Dillon. You come over to the optimizer, and then you decide how many lineups you want up here, whether it's 1, 20, 40, 50, 150. You set your minimum salary. I would set your minimum salary around 48, 4,700, maybe 47.5. You can go max of 5. It's rare that you actually hit max salary. And then the max, how many, what's your minimum value drivers? $6,000 or less. You're going to need at least 2, probably 1 or 2. And then you start to build. You can either lock a driver in. That means they're in every one of the lineups that you're building. Or you can exclude them. If you find a way of finding out what their percentages are. You think the percentage of ownership is here. You can use the leverage toolbar to either leverage on or off of them for the chalk, and then your variance on how diverse of your lineups you want to be. I usually go to about 45% diverse. And then all you do is you just punch in here. So I think SVG, I'm going to probably run 25 to 35%. Then Tyler Reddick, I'm probably going to run probably about the same, 25 to 35%. Connor Zillage, I like a little bit more. I'm going to go 30 to 45. Kyle Larson, I like a decent amount. I'm going to run him, 35 to 50. I usually do about 15% variance between these two, 10 to 15%. And then to exclude drivers, you start to come down here. I said I had no interest in Carson Tosavar. I'll exclude him. Austin Hill, no interest, exclude him. Cody Ware, no interest, exclude. Ross Chastain, exclude. Josh Berry, exclude. Noah Gregson, probably exclude. Austin Cindric, I might want to run him one or two. Eric Jones, I might run a couple. Bradley Herbst, Bell, I'll run a couple lineups. So only exclude them if you absolutely just do not want them in a lineup at all. And then, if you want Austin Cindric, like I'm talked about, maybe 1 to 5%, and so on. So you build all that out, and then you just click on build lineups, and it says built 20 of 20 lineups. Then you come over here, export to a CSV file. It will then show you your lineups that you built. You just copy and paste this into the CSV file that you download from Draftkings and then re-upload. This tells you what your percentages are of drivers. Cole Custer's way too highly owned. It's because he's so cheap. He had to be. So I'm not saying I would use this, but you can print it out and you can see what your exposure is. And then if you want, say you don't like that, you can go back in here and readjust a little bit. So it's because I didn't, the Cole Custer and stuff, it went off of the projections that I put in, the rankings I've got, and all that type of stuff. So that's how you run the optimizer. If you leave the page, it disappears. So don't leave the page. I'm not going to leave the page. I'm going to leave it open until I get to it tomorrow. All right. Everybody was asking about the in-season tournament. Let's go pull the in-season tournament. The challenge awaits. That's probably up here in fantasy, isn't it? Yep, in-season challenge. All right, for $1 million. Yep, I got you. All right. Reddick Bowman. I'm taking Reddick. Now, yeah, I agree to the terms. Submit. All right, we're going to go Reddick on the first one. Let me slide this over so everybody can see it. All right, Reddick there. Cindric over Brad Kozlowski. Yes. Suarez, Gilliland. Ooh, Suarez. Osavar, Zane Smith. Zane Smith. Osavar is going to get wrecked. Briscoe, AJ. Ooh, that's a good competition right there. That might be the race of the day. I'm going to go AJ. Ty Gibbs, Austin Dillon. I'll take Gibbs. Bubba Wallace, Michael McDowell. I'm taking Michael McDowell. Chase Elliott, Noah Gregson. I'll take Chase Elliott. Noah Gregson sucks at road courses. And I say that, I like Noah, but he's not good at road courses. Hamlin, Ty Dillon. As much as Hamlin says he stinks at road courses, he's probably better than Ty Dillon. You like Briscoe over AJ? Okay. That's why everybody is filling out. Bear Alf, make What what's make? I don't. What do you mean by make? I don't know. Eric Jones or Joey Logano. I'm going to take Joe Logano. Busher, John Hunter. I'll take Busher. Bell and Ross. Oh, even Hurt Bell, I think, is better than Ross on the road course. I don't love that one. I could easily see the call to go to Ross on that. Byron's going to beat Stenhouse unless there's a mechanical failure. Larson will beat Herbst. SVG, Ryan Priest. You almost have to take SVG there. Blaney, Barry, I'm taking Blaney. All right, so that's round one. Round two, Chicago. Mile and a half. Extremely high tire wear. Toyotas are extremely fast in those conditions. And you're looking for the old wily veteran like Denny Hamlin to win that race. And the guys that are really good at that style, which would be Reddick. Zane or Suarez. At a mile and a half, Chicago. I'm going to take Zane. AJ or Ty Gibbs. I'll take Ty Gibbs. McDowell or Elliott. I'll take Elliott there. Then on the other side, Hamlin, Logano. I'll take Hamlin. Easy. Busher, Bell. I'll take Bell on the mile and a half. And the wrist won't be an issue there. Byron or Larson? I'll take Larson. Blaney or SVG? I'll take Blaney. All right, so then our next round. Oh, here's the fun round. Echo Park, Atlanta. Super Speedway. It is this is the, I don't know. It is a crazy, anything can happen race. Reddick won there earlier. I don't think Reddick's going to win two there. Zane Smith. Gibbs or Elliott? I'll take Elliott. He's from Georgia. He's really good there. Hamlin or Bell? I'll take Bell. I think Hamlin loses that. Larson or Blaney? I'll take Blaney, even though I'm a diehard Larson fan. And then we've got North Wilkesboro, short track. Zane Smith, Chase Elliott. I will take... I don't know. Let me pull up. I don't know. I'll take Chase. Blaney on a short track, yeah. I'll take Blaney. That's actually a really good matchup for that track. And then Indianapolis, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney. God. Do I really? Yuck. I didn't see that coming. Can I just put Zane Smith in? At least that makes it fun. That's more than likely what the averages are would end up saying. It's not very different. So I could easily see Elliott being there. I could also see Zane, Blaney, and I'll take the Racing in the Draft favorite, Zane Smith. What are you laughing at? Because I had problems with Chase Elliott, or no? I don't. I mean, the first rounds were easy. Once you got to Atlanta, that's where it got a little sticky. I mean, Reddick won there earlier. I mean, I could easily see going to Reddick there. I could see Gibbs beating Elliott. I mean, it's such a crapshoot. And then out of North Wilkesboro, I would take Gibbs. So that puts Gibbs, the guy who won it last year, right there. I still would, at that point, I would take Blaney. So, yeah. Blaney's 900 or 9 to 1. So put $10 on it, win $90 if you think that's the real truth. Who's the odd on favorite? Yuck, Elliott, don't need that to happen. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't dislike Chase Elliott. I just don't like Chase Elliott. Yeah. I don't understand why he's the fan favorite. There's so many other better fan favorites. I mean, I get it. It's because his dad was. I mean, honestly, I think the fan favorite should be. I mean, the sentimental would be give it to Kyle Busch, but I don't understand why Denny Hamlin's not. Everybody despises him. I don't mind him. I like his podcast. His podcast is great, and he's a great driver. I mean, of course, my favorite would be Kyle Larson, but he's got. He's not as hated as a Denny Hamlin's hated. So, I mean, I guess I could see why Chase Elliott's there because I mean, I would take Blaney over Chase Elliott. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But, I mean, I think the Blaney call is fine. I could see Chase Elliott getting there's a path. I mean, I actually honestly would rather see that and have Zane beat it. I mean, it's 100 to 1 or 10 to 1. So, bet $1, win 10, bet 10, win 100. Do you think that's the case? Is that right? Yeah, 10,000. That's 10,000. That is 100 to 1 for Zane Smith to win it all. Really? Where is that? Cup Series, Futures. That's just the championship. That on the N Series championship. They're making it sound like they had the N Series championship on here. It ain't there. What is it doing? Cup Series championship, NASCAR Series. There's tomorrow's lines. SVG minus 160. Larson plus 7. Zilich plus 850. Who was it that I said earlier? Busher for 4,000. Is that who I had the scrolling thing on the bottom? I think it was Busher for 4,000 or AJ for 2,800 are pretty good long shots. Put them in the top 3 or top 5. Futures, that's the championship. I don't see where they've got the other one. All right, either way, I'd go put $5 for Zane Smith to win the in-season championship. $5 will win you 500. I'll take that. If I can actually find that bet, I will absolutely take that all day. There's a path for Zane to do that because he's got Hocevar tomorrow, which I think Hocevar. I'll be surprised if he makes it to stage 1 before he's either wrecked or been wrecked. And then at Chicago, I think Zane's. I mean, the 7 team's been really good at the mile and a half, so I could see the argument for Daniel there, but I think Zane's also been as good. And then, I mean, Atlanta's Atlanta. Who knows? And if you get to North Wilkesboro, Ty Gibbs will be tough there. Zane's not the best on short tracks. That's the problem. So, yeah, I mean, that's why it's 100 to 1 to win. So, I wonder who the all-out favorite is. Yeah, they've got Tyler Reddick 96 to 4. Jeez. That's crazy. Daniel is good at Sonoma. Think so, huh? How good do you think he is? Have you looked it up yet? How good is Daniel Suarez at Sonoma? Other than the one win. Let's look. Daniel Suarez. Go by year. Daniel Suarez, 8 starts, 1 win, 1 top 5, 1 top 10, which is that 1 win. He has an average finish of 13.9. There is Watkins Glen. He's better at Watkins Glen with a 12.8. So Bristol Dirt, that doesn't count anymore. Fontana, he was a 13.2. That doesn't count anymore. What did we say he was? 13.9? Yeah, he's better at Watkins Glen than he is Sonoma. But it's his second best track that's currently on the schedule. So, yeah. It's close to Mexico. Sonoma? It's like 8 hours, 9 hours. Momentum is a real thing. And a few more fans over there maybe does good for his fan and new inspired team. I mean, I'm not a Daniel hater by any means. I like Daniel Suarez. Yeah. But let's see, where's Daniel starting? Top 10 or something, isn't it? Where is Suarez? Daniel Suarez, 21st. Yeah, I mean he's great for DraftKings. I'll take him in DraftKings all day. Yeah, I mean it's Watkins Glen's actually better for Daniel than Sonoma is, but he does have the 1 win there. But you got to remember, I mean, you said it was close to Mexico. It's not close to Mexico. It's north of San Francisco, and San Francisco's at least, I think, a 7-8 hour drive to the Mexico border. So last week in San Diego, that was you could hit baseball and hit Mexico. But yeah, I mean, I like Daniel. I think he has a probably close to a 12th, 13th place finish. So he's very viable for DraftKings for tomorrow. All right, guys, that is the in-season breakdown. That is the DraftKings breakdown. I think I've gone through and explained everything that I know how to explain. Of course, if you have any other questions, hit me up in Discord. Hit me up in the chat here. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Join us on Discord. I'm always there during the race. If you want to come over and chit chat, I'm making notes throughout the entire race. Yeah, Cash Money, you're more than welcome, and hopefully you can tune in next week. We'll do it again next Saturday. We'll break down Chicagoland. In my opinion, I am so happy to see Chicagoland back. I hope it sticks around. It is one of the best 1.5-mile tracks that's out there. Going to be a super high tire wear because that track has been sitting there for 7-8 years, just aging. So, all right, everybody. Good night. Good luck. Hit me up in Discord or in the chat. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. We'll see you next Saturday at 9 o'clock. Thanks. Bye.
Gentlemen, start your engines. 40 cars coming to life.
He still takes the field? Yep. Love it.
a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that.
Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud.
Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job.
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.